an unpaid present entitlement arises where first a trust distributes income to a private company. And so the trust creates a present entitlement in that company. And that private company's entitlement to that income remains unpaid. So as we can see in the diagram here, the trust makes a distribution, creates a present entitlement in the private company for an amount of income, but there's no payment. So the amount remains unpaid. So that's what we're talking about with a UPE. So what is a loan for Division 7A purposes? So now we've done the background on what's the UPE, what's a subtrust in the context of what we're about to speak about. Now, what is a loan for Div 7A purposes? And that's going to lead to what is a UPE? Can that be a loan? So loan is defined, an extended definition. And this is a definition. It includes an advance of money, includes a provision of credit or any other form of financial accommodation. It includes a payment of amounts, an amount for, on account of, or on behalf of an entity if there's an obligation to repay the amount. And then a transaction, which is in substance affects a loan. So that's the definition. A UPE isn't really an advance of money. It isn't really a payment of an amount for, or on account of, or on behalf of an entity. But where the ATO is kind of focused in on is these words I've got in bold here. So provision of credit, that usually involves allowing time for a creditor to pay a debt. Probably not entirely clear, but probably not a UPE is captured by that. And that, again, because the UPE isn't a debt. But these other words, or any other form of financial accommodation, that's really what the ATO is focused on. I think that has potentially quite a broad meaning, a wide meaning. And the ATO considers, and it's probably correct, that extends to cases where an entity with the trust entitlement has, I guess, knowledge that there's an amount owed to it. So the knowledge of the UPE, knows that it can demand payment of it, but then chooses not to pay it. And by choosing not to demand or not call for the payment of that UPE by the trust, the ATO is considering that the company is providing financial accommodation to the trust. So the company has a right to demand it, and by not demanding it, it's providing financial accommodation to the trust.